And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
Yeah, speaking of cha-ching,
Yeah.
tickets to the Super Bowl will be the most expensive in history.
Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector. With trillions at its disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders, it offers the only real prospect of achieving fundamental economic transition.
Are you ready for it?
You better believe
See
it.
why I said that?
I do.
So the average ticket for the big game is nearly $10,000. The cheapest, just over $8,000. Okay, now just yesterday, by the way, it was the most expensive was $8,000. So that's nearly $2,000 more than the average ticket last year. Part of the reason for this year's cost is Vegas, baby. The previous record year for priciest Super Bowl seats was also 2020, which coincidentally also featured the Chiefs and the Niners.
In a little corner of the world, near a little Italian village called Assisi, in a little chapel dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary, there once lived a little man who became a giant.
Get ready. It's time for your next life-changing, unforgettable moment. Because the greatest sporting event is coming to the greatest arena on earth. It's more than the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. February 11th, 2024. The Super Bowl happens here.
St. Francis of Assisi is the most universally loved of all the saints. He is known as a man of peace, a friend of nature, a guardian of the poor. But St. Francis was not always as we know him today. The son of a wealthy merchant, as a young man he had everything he wanted, but lacked the one thing he needed. In this little chapel, called the Porziuncola, which means little corner, St. Francis of Assisi found his way, his little portion of heavenly grace, his calling as a man of God. In a vision, Jesus told St. Francis from the cross, "Go and rebuild my church." He did exactly that, repairing the Porziuncola brick by brick, building faith among his followers in the process.
He rebuilt it. It's where Francesco lived. It's where he danced, where he cried, where he prayed, where he planned, where he wrote his rule, and where he insisted on dying.
Even within his own lifetime, St. Francis became a revered figure, and the Pope declared the Porziuncola a sacred place. The pontiff issued a special blessing called an indulgence that lessened the punishment for the sins of all who visited. That indulgence, issued in the year 1228, remains in place even today. In another little corner of the world, 800 years and 6,000 miles removed from St. Francis of Assisi, stands a magnificent modern city named in his honor, San Francisco.
It's important not to have a kind of spiritual amnesia, not to forget the roots, the past, the history, the story. People don't want to lose their genealogies and their families, and I think we as the family of San Francisco don't want to lose the roots of our own spiritual history.
This is his city. He is our patron saint. We are named after him. This is his American city.
Pope Francis is a first in many ways. The first Jesuit pope, the first pope from the New World, and the first one to take the name Francis. As Jorge Mario Bergoglio, he lived in a simple apartment, not the Archbishop's palace. He took the bus instead of a chauffeured limo, and he cooked his own meals. In short, his life was modeled on simplicity, like that of St. Francis of Assisi. As Argentina's top church official, he opposed Argentina becoming the first Latin American country to legalize gay marriage. He opposed euthanasia and giving away free birth control. The son of Italian immigrants, he originally planned to become a chemist, but instead began studies for the priesthood. He came second in the conclave when Pope Benedict XVI was selected in 2005. Many thought his age of 76 would rule him out this time. He is now the leader of more than 1 billion Catholics around the world. And as the world found out the name and identity of the new pope, there were cheers. The Bishop of Arlington, Virginia, Paul Loverty, says the Pope's challenge will be to follow the truth and teachings of the Church, even as the Church itself evolves. Loverty explains there's a significance of choosing to name himself after St. Francis of Assisi.
But he was a man of building up the Church. His whole life was spent to build up the Church, as he heard the Lord say to him when he has become converted. Repair my church. First he thought it was the chapel, but then he realized, no, the Lord meant the living church.
As you look in detail now at the seal of Prince Charles, the Father, here's what you see in detail. But let's first look at the text, Revelations 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And then Revelation 13:1. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, and on his horns were the 10 diadems, and on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were those of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And so as you look at Prince Charles, the Father, his seal, his coat of arms, you'll notice that the crown actually is shown here in 7 places, and they're all numbered. You see it in the lion figure. You see it above that represents the sun, Prince William. You see the crown of the face. You see the crown on the unicorn. You see the crown in the center of the shield, and you see 2 more crowns below. There are your 7 heads with 7 crowns. Also, we discussed how in this text that the beast would resemble a leopard, and which this does by its length and its thinness as compared to a lion. It has the feet of a bear, and if you look at the feet, those are bare feet, and it has the mouth as a lion, and it certainly has a lion's mouth. So let's focus on the lion, leopard, bear beast on the left. Notice there are 3 parallel horns on his neck, which are, in a manner of speaking, plucked out by the roots, which means turned upside down. Then come to the center photo. The helm, which is the face, has 7 curved bars or horns. These 7 horns, along with the 3 horns from the eldest son, lion, at the top, make a total of 10 horns in the head region. And from Daniel 7 verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. So as you can see in the first 2 photos, we have numbered the 3 additional horns to the 7 that already existed in the previous slide. Now let's take a look at the eyes of a man in the horn. Over on the next photo is the unicorn. In heraldry, the unicorn's eyes are round and black. There are no visible eye whites. Queen Elizabeth's heraldic unicorn is depicted just like that, no visible eye whites. But Charles's design, here shown, has the eyes shaped more like those of a human, with noticeable eye whites. Daniel 7:8. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man. Also in heraldry, this unicorn represents not only Scotland, but also a counterfeit Christ.
There he is. He is putting his fist in the air, saying thank you as he emerges down the steps for the first time, waving to the media. and getting set to step straight in to the vehicle. The former President of the United States of America emerging down the steps onto the red carpet, and behind that vehicle, obscuring our view, he is meeting his representative in Scotland, a woman who has been at Trump's side in his Scottish operations for a great number of years. And also standing there is Eric Trump, the son of the former president. They are engaging now in conversation, in good spirits, it looks, while they prepare to enter the vehicle and to head north to the golfing resort that he boasts is one of the best in the world. A far cry from the warmer climate of Mar-a-Lago, where this plane departed early this morning. And the President is coming round. He's waving at the press. Mr. President, how do you feel to be back in Scotland? And there we have it. He said it was great to be home. He said it is the home of his mother. And he put his fist in the air in true Trump style and entered the vehicle very quickly, not saying anything too much, which is unfortunate, but he did remind us that this is a place that he holds dear in his heart.
President Trump, who attended Fordham, a Jesuit university, came face to face today with the first Jesuit Pope. The rest is history.
San Francisco is the end of the line. San Francisco is the end of the line.
President Trump's 9-day foreign trip took him to the Vatican, where he was welcomed by the Swiss Guard and then taken to meet Pope Francis. The two men shook hands and posed for photographs ahead of a private meeting behind closed doors. The leaders exchanged gifts, with Mr. Trump giving the pontiff a first edition set of Martin Luther King Jr.'s writings. One of the books has Dr. King's signature. The Pope returned the gesture by presenting the president with a medal by a Roman artist featuring an olive branch, saying it was a symbol of peace. President Trump and the pontiff have not always seen eye to eye. During the U.S. presidential campaign, the Holy Father said anyone who concentrates on building walls and not bridges is not a Christian.
The Pope said something to the effect that maybe Donald Trump isn't Christian, okay? And he's questioning my faith. I was very surprised to see it. For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
But last week, Pope Francis told journalists he hoped to find common ground with the commander-in-chief, saying in part, quote, "What can the world expect? Peace. Whatever the topic or whoever is in front of me, whoever that person may be, it's peace." Also at the Vatican today, First Lady Melania Trump, daughter Ivanka, and her husband Jared Kushner. Both women dressed in all black and wore veils, a customary sign of respect when meeting the Pope. After a tour of the Sistine Chapel and St. Peter's Basilica, the president participated in a bilateral meeting with President Sergio Mattarella of Italy. He also met with Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni.
The Vatican described the Pope and the President as having cordial discussions, including about a joint commitment in favor of life. The Vatican also said it is hoped that the U.S. and the Catholic Church can work together on certain issues, including assistance to immigrants.
Angela Aliotto has long felt a spiritual kinship with St. Francis of Assisi, and she wanted his presence felt in the city that bears his name. In 2005, she took it upon herself, like St. Francis, to rebuild the church, literally. In conjunction with the Archdiocese of San Francisco, Angela led the effort to build a scaled duplicate of the Portiuncula next to the National Shrine of St. Francis on Vallejo Street in the city's North Beach neighborhood.
I want people to walk into this front door where the steps say, in Italian, Vi voglio tutti in paradiso, which is what Francesco said. He wants everybody to go to paradise.
It was a labor of love for 3 years. Angela at first using dental floss to secretly measure the dimensions of the original Portiuncula. But the project later moved forward with the blessing of the Franciscans in Assisi, and it blossomed in the masterful hands of accomplished artisans. Master woodworker Lucio Ducci crafted the majestic doors and the round table used by the Knights of Francesco in the 13th century, hand-carving them in his hometown not far from Assisi.
Allora, chi avrà la fortuna di essere stato ad Assisi.
Those who will be lucky enough to first visit Assisi and see the Portiuncula, and then see the work that we have realized in San Francisco, I think it will be an incredible thing, because they will feel the same sensations of love and peace that they have here in Assisi.
Eius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille inquam Lucifer qui nescito casum.
It was truly a labor of love. It wasn't just an hourly wage for them. It was something that they truly believed in, they felt inspired by, they felt honored to be a part of.
Romero Lazzari's company specializes in accurately recreating antique works of art. His son, Stefano, did the breathtaking frescoes adorning the new Porziuncula.
It gives us great satisfaction to be able to bring this art to California. And for people in California who normally would not be able to travel to Assisi, to see the original, to see a faithful reproduction just the way they would see it here in Italy.
The rosy marble floor leading to the Porziuncula is the famous Pietra Rosa from Assisi, just like the original, hand-cut and laid by Maurizio Volpi. The paintings, the wrought iron fixtures, the woodwork, the stonework, all exact in every detail. The new chapel also includes an item that is not a replica at all. A priceless relic, a stone hand-cut by St. Francis himself and part of the original Porziuncula. Dislodged by an earthquake, it was given as a gift by the Franciscan order in Assisi. Stone by stone, one brushstroke at a time, the little Porziuncula came together, leading up to its dedication on September 27, 2008.
Allora, la riproduzione della Porziuncola in San Francisco.
I think that the replication of the Porziuncula in San Francisco, I believe, is a real gift from God, because it expresses an experience of St. Francis, of a God of love, a God of mercy, a God of peace.
And some of the hotels right near Allegiant Stadium are already sold out for Super Bowl weekend. If you can't find a room, you're gonna have to pay, like a lot.
A lot.
The Staybridge Suites near the stadium currently has vacancies listed at more than $1,200 per night for Super Bowl weekend.
Wow.
Some rooms are available on the Strip, including at Aria for $1,300 a night and at Fountain Blue for more than $1,400 per night.
You might be better off just doing an Airbnb somewhere and...
Or going in and out, same day.
But the completion of the Porziuncula Nuova, the new Porziuncula, is not the end of this project. It is only the beginning. The Porziuncula is the first phase of a larger plan called the Renaissance Project to transform the National Shrine of St. Francis into an international site of global peace, one which welcomes people of all faiths, as St. Francis himself would have done.
His famous saying, always preach the gospel. When necessary, use words. We often think of preaching as just words, but Francis saw it principally as life, the way you live the life of Christ before others in such a way that you win them to Christ.
The second phase of the Renaissance Project focuses on preservation, with major structural and aesthetic upgrades planned for the larger church. Plans then call for the construction of a welcoming piazza on Vallejo between Columbus and Grant. And finally, the project aims to establish an international spiritual center of Franciscan prayer and thought. These lofty goals will not come without sacrifice. The painstakingly detailed, handcrafted work of the new Porziuncula alone came at a cost of nearly $3 million.
What we're developing is expensive. Beautiful projects are very often expensive. And sometimes people say, well, why would you spend it on this when there are so many other worthy causes? People need bread and they also need beauty. People need a job, they need to make a living, but as Winston Churchill said, what you get gives you a living, what you give gives you a life. And I think that that's what we're appealing to. We're asking people to help with their resources to the extent that they can.
To achieve the dream of the Renaissance Project, to rebuild the church as St. Francis did, one need look no further than the Porziuncula for inspiration. It was there, that Francesco gave up his worldly goods and dedicated himself to a higher calling in a tumultuous world. It is here, at the National Shrine of St. Francis, that similar sacrifice will help lift the spirit of pilgrims from our tumultuous world who visit this little corner, this little instrument of peace.
Not just the Capitol, but the geographical layout of the whole of Washington, D.C. was carefully designed, and the Capitol itself is just one component. Take a look at this photo and notice its relation to the Washington Monument, one of the most famous obelisks in the world. Notice how similar this is to the Vatican's layout. This exact same layout can be found in Paris also and many other cities. Why this configuration? The key to this is perhaps the dome, which dominates these buildings. In many ancient cultures, the dome shape represented the female principle or the womb, when you have the male principle, which is the obelisk, connected to the female principle. It was believed by occultists that a third entity, a kind of spiritual energy, is produced. We've already seen that idea in the square and compass logo. In occultism, the idea is also quite prevalent that certain shapes and colours either create or diffuse energies. We're quite familiar with this concept today in the form of Feng Shui, which was a craze a while ago. Arranging your furniture in relation to what they do with energies to create balance. You can think of this kind of arrangement between the obelisk and the dome as a kind of Feng Shui designed to generate a spiritual power. Now if we go inside the Capitol and look up at the dome, we see this. Now this dome looks almost exactly the same as the one in the Vatican, and at the top is a painting called the Apotheosis. It was painted by an artist called Constantino Brumidi. His story is interesting because in his younger years he became famous for his paintings commissioned by the Vatican. In 1848 there was a Masonic attempt to overthrow the power of the Pope, and although it was ultimately unsuccessful, this guy who made a living painting for the Vatican, Brumidi, was surprisingly found to be one of the guilty chief conspirators. After that he was shipped off to the USA, and there he made a name for himself by working for occult societies. It was he who painted this painting, which creates a kind of Masonic mirror image to the Vatican. The whole setup of the Capitol, Dome and Obelisk is present in the Masonic Washington and in the Catholic Vatican. Now this would seem odd for two seemingly opposed ideologies to do this, but then we remember Alice A. Bailey's pronouncement. There is no question, therefore, that the work to be done in familiarizing the general public with the nature of the mysteries is of paramount importance at this time. These mysteries will be restored to outer expression through the medium of the Church and the Masonic fraternity. Bailey predicted that the mystery religion would start to become familiar to the general public through both the Church, meaning the false Church, and the Masonic fraternity. This two-pronged attack appear to be on opposing sides but are working towards the same end. Remember that the founder of the Illuminated Masons, Adam Weishaupt, had actually come from the Catholic Jesuit order, but after creating the Masonic Illuminati, he claimed to be anti-Catholic. The Masons and Church appear to be opposed, but in fact are both puppets of Satan. At the top of the Capitol Dome we find this statue, who symbolically faces east towards the sunrise. This is the goddess of reason who the French enthroned at Notre Dame, or as we've come to know her since the beginning of this study, Asherah or Ashtoreth. She pops up absolutely everywhere. This particular idol was designed by a Freemason, Thomas Crawford, and is standing on top of a spherical shape which almost certainly represents the earth, around which is written in Latin, E pluribus unum. This means, out of many, one. Now remember, there's always a light side and dark side to every symbol, so the lighter good meaning for public consumption is calling for the unity of the American people, which was made up of immigrants. The dark hidden meaning is that the whole world will be united under the feet of this enigmatic goddess. The American form of Asherah is mostly known as Columbia. The DC in Washington, D.C. actually stands for Washington District of Columbia, so effectively it's like saying that it's her district, her territory where she rules. Now the definition of apotheosis is the exaltation of a subject to a divine level. So who are they exalting to a divine level here? Well, if we look closer, we see that it's the same man who stands under the dome, George Washington. Look at the bottom and you will see the goddess Columbia or Asherah, and then George Washington is depicted directly above her. It represents the deification of the man, George Washington. Note the pose he is striking with his left arm raised and his right hand extended outwards. He was depicted in a similar manner when this statue was commissioned. Now this statue is again elevating Washington to a position of God, as it was modelled on Zeus. It was meant to go on display at the Capitol, but after it was found to make people uncomfortable, it was moved to the Smithsonian Museum instead. What is extraordinary is that this pose is more commonly associated with Baphomet, the horned goat god that represents Satan. Remember when we turned the pentagram representing man upside down, we got Baphomet. So if the painting intends to elevate the man Washington to the level of a god, we are forced to ask the question, what kind of god? Incidentally, while Baphomet is on the screen, you may also notice that it has both male and female features, which is the usual male and female, light and dark from one source theme that we've already seen countless times. If we go back to the painting one more time, we see that the other figures that surround Washington are also ancient gods and goddesses from pagan mythologies.
You know what, sometimes what you leave out of a story is even more interesting than what you leave in. That happened when we were in Oxford, Maryland. Learned that the pride of that old town was one Robert Morris Jr., the financier of the American Revolution. Years ago, we used to go down to the county library to get a picture of a bird like that, but now we just use the internet. That's where I found this picture here. Now, the caption said it was a shot of the Greek god Mercury handing a bag of loot to Robert Morris, the financier of the American Revolution. Well, that's just a tiny part of a much bigger picture called the Apotheosis of Washington. Now, apotheosis is a Greek word that means to make divine. In other words, this painting shows George Washington becoming a god. Now, I never knew that happened. But there it is for all to see, painted under the most famous dome in the whole country, maybe the whole world, the United States Capitol. Now, the most interesting part of this particular heaven are the folks that live in it. Now, you'd expect to see Moses and Abraham and Ezekiel and that crowd hanging around, but not a single fella from the Bible's up there. Now, Minerva, the Roman goddess of crafts and wisdom, is shown delivering an electrical generator and batteries and a printing press to Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Morse, and Robert Fulton. And Neptune, the Roman sea god, and Venus, the goddess of love, are shown helping to lay the transatlantic telegraph cable. I'll bet you they were a big help. Now, there's some other gods, but not a single prophet, apostle, or even a lower archangel in the whole 4,500 square feet. All I know is what I read on the internet, but you hear a lot of talk these days about the religious beliefs of our founding fathers. Now, those boys may have been as devout as saints. We'll never know. One thing's for sure, you'd never tell by looking at Capitol Dome. Charles Paparella, WBOC News.
Many of you missed your prom, sporting events, and celebration with your friends. But you were quick to find new ways to stay connected and active while remaining focused on finishing your education. You proved to the entire world that you can set your mind to something important, push through and succeed, showing all of us that you, our next generation, already possess the
Simply put, this country and this world benefit from your commitment to Jesuit principles, to being men.
As a graduate of another great Jesuit institution, Xavier University, I have great affection for the value and purpose of a Jesuit education.
So the joke being here is that Henry Kissinger and the other people that he mentioned are Catholic. I mean, what you're getting told here is the truth in the form of jokes.
Without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. You know, Catholics like Henry Kissinger, Howard Rubenstein.
Right, all Jews, apparently, you know, and according to the internet conspiracy truthers, the Jews run the world. So this guy's telling you the truth here in the form of a joke.
Without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. You know, Catholics like Henry Kissinger.
Okay, because they're not Jews, they are Catholic.
I don't care if you think I'm Satan reincarnated. The fact is, you can't look at that television and say, faith is what has gotten me through difficult times in my life. When I lost my wife and daughter, when my son had stage 4 glioblastoma, it was a matter of months. Personally for me, faith, it's all about hope and purpose and strength. And purpose. And for me, my religion is just an enormous sense of solace. I go to Mass and I say the Rosary. I find it to be incredibly comforting. And Kierkegaard said, faith sees best in the dark. And I say again, you need not be a Jew to be a Zionist. The fact is that since then, I've known every single prime minister, and it's been an honor. Formed strong working relations with each of them. And now, this is my 10th visit. Every chance to return to this great country, where the ancient roots of the Jewish people date back to biblical times, is a blessing. Because the connection between the Israeli people and the American people is bone deep. We invest in each other. We dream together.
The Golden Gate Bridge is the longest span between two towers. The Golden Gate Bridge is the longest span between two towers. The Golden Gate Bridge is the longest span between two towers.
Why are you telling me all these things?
This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading. The amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.